everyone. My name is Nyemade Boiwu. I'm the Chief Content Officer here at AllGo. We're a plus size review app for larger people and people who love us. I'm so excited to bring you another episode of Love Handles All, because all bodies deserve love, and we just want to show that all bodies can get love. So I'm so excited. Today I have Mariaelissa and Brian with me. Thank you both for joining.
Thank you for having
Very
us.
welcome.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yes.
Do you guys want to tell everybody just like a little bit about yourselves before we jump into your love story?
Sure. So I am an artist. I do a lot of creating from home decor, home like interiors. I do jewelry making. I just spend my days creating. Years ago, I was a plus size model, and that kind of got me into the platform that I have on Instagram. It started with my modeling, and then it kind of blew up after we became engaged because of what we're about to talk about.
Yes.
All right. My name is Brian. I actually, I work in finance. Some of the things I enjoy, obviously, spending time with my wife and my kids. Avid person that's into fitness and sports. I'm a huge boxing fan, so that's one thing I really love to do. Obviously, and I love being outside. The big thing. I love being outside. We have a really large dog, so that goes hand in hand with that. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Well, like you said, you blew up and you two got engaged, but how did you meet? And how long have you been together?
So we've been together for just past 9 years in April, and we met in a bar in Baltimore.
Nice.
Yeah. So we met. So I was actually working. We were kind of both working. I was actually working at the bar. I was managing, and it was a random Sunday. And then she was only in town for, it's like this hair convention type thing. It was a cosmetology convention. So I guess that they didn't really get much time off, but that Sunday they had some time off and to blow off some steam. And then they decided to come to the party district that I worked at. It was like downtown Baltimore. So they came, and the rest is pretty much history. I mean, it's crazy because I wasn't even supposed to be working. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to be working.
I love those moments of fate.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I was actually across at another bar across from his most of the night, and I wasn't feeling well. One of my friends had gone into his bar, and he came out and yelled for me to go in there because he was like, the music is great and the bartender is hot. So I walk in, we lock eyes, but we had a very awkward first meeting because when I approached him, he became extremely professional. And then I thought, I guess everything, like when I saw him looking at me, I'm like, I guess I called this wrong. But thankfully.
I didn't think it was awkward because I was working. I was doing what I always do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't think it was awkward until she explained it to me. I'm like, okay, I could see how that could be.
Yeah, he just got real professional.
Because I went right into, I mean, obviously she could tell I was attracted to her, but I still got to serve you a drink. So I was like, you know what I mean? Like, so what would you like to drink? You know what I mean? So I ended up making her something and she liked it.
Yeah.
So she still didn't choose a drink. I had to choose it for her. So.
Yeah.
So then how did you transition from that awkward into exchanging digits or setting up a date?
So it was the music. So basically, like, I worked in downtown Baltimore. So if there's nothing, like no events going on, it's dead. So it was me and one other employee working, and this bar is huge. So really, it's like a day you come into work and you're expecting to like get a couple people walking downtown, maybe because the museums, everything's closed. So you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna be in here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the inventory. I'm gonna have one bartender working. She can bartend and serve tables. And I was like, okay, now I'll be out of here in 13 hours, hopefully. And then they came in, and I'm like, where are all these people coming from? And then they were like, on like a Saturday night mode. They were hyped up. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. So at first I was kind of like, oh my God, like what is going on right now? So then next thing you know, because they kind of want to party because after the fact she told me, they've pretty much just been at the convention center nonstop, like all day. I was like, all right, well, and that
Started playing music.
yes,
Yeah.
started playing music, started having fun, and then obviously
Started inviting me over to
she was helping me choose songs. You know what I mean?
he was
Yeah.
watching me on the dance floor and he kept calling me over saying, what should I play next? And so each time I would go up there, we would talk a little bit more. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I was enjoying conversation with him.
Yeah.
And then one of the last times he called me up there, he handed me his number.
Yeah.
So, but I always joke that I lived in Virginia Beach, by the way. So this was in Baltimore. I lived about 4.5 hours away. And when he gave me his number, I was like, great, it'll be someone I text. But thankfully, on my way out the door that night, he ran up, he asked for a hug. And it was just literally that moment where I am walking on cobblestone, like this little cobblestone road, and these stiletto boots trying to put his phone number in my phone before I lose this little paper he had. So
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like, it was a night where there was never, I worked at that bar for a long time and I never had a night like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I met my wife that night, but it was just the whole night was just, there's other things that have nothing to do with us that were going on. And it was just a crazy night. Like, and then I met her. So it just made it perfect.
Yeah.
So
It's just like a one-off meant to be.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
What was your dating history for you both like before each other?
So the crazy thing was I was actually married for almost 20 years and I was going through a really bad divorce. And I honestly had been dating a little bit previous to meeting him, but it was not going great. So probably about a month before I met him, I swore off. I was like, I'm done dating. I'm just going to focus on me and my kids. And again, when I met him, got his number, I thought this is safe. He's, in Baltimore. So, it forced us to kind of take things slow. But yeah, he was my first very serious relationship since my divorce. So
yeah. And I had, I was dating in Baltimore, but obviously nothing that I felt like was going to be very, very long term. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where, obviously I was dating, but it wasn't anything, I wasn't thinking about getting married. I always wanted to get married. It's something I always wanted. I always wanted to have a family and get married, but it wasn't something I was thinking about, with the current situation that I was in. And then I was just kind of like not focused on that at all. So.
But then it crossed your path when it was meant to, which is wonderful. When you were in your dating life, because part of the reason, we do this series is because it feels like every time you see, or at least when I was younger, when you saw people dating, it was always like very thin, beautiful people. And so you're like, oh, I can never, if I'm like overweight or if I'm whatever, which isn't the case at all. But like, did it ever impact you? I know you did plus size modeling and you're obviously gorgeous. But like, did that ever like impact you before or after growing up with your dating life?
For sure. Yeah. And, I, like I said, had been married. And when things went bad, it really affected my self-esteem even more. And I was told things like nobody, would want to be with me. And I believed those things for a while. So when I started dating post-divorce, I kind of led with that image of, I kind of have to take what I get. And I remember I had friends who would like ask me when I was dating around, aren't you afraid, to be intimate with people because I had a larger body? And, it took a lot, I thankfully was raised by a mother who was, taught me to love my body no matter what size I was. So, I had that mentality of like, fake it till you. I never let anybody else see that I was internally struggling with, those fears of, especially after being with someone for so long, what it would be like if people would accept my body. I had 4 children. So, but yeah, I was definitely impacted by that. And then meeting him and seeing, he was extremely fit. You have a moment where you tell yourself, is this person really, does he want to be with me? And then there was a moment where I was like, does he have a thing for just, big girls? And this, is this just going to be something fun for him, but not really a relationship? So, yeah.
Yeah. And those are valid concerns. I think people don't even realize a lot. Like, I think, especially like when they look at people with larger bodies, they're like, oh, nobody wants them. And they don't realize like there's like the fetish side of it where it's like, oh no, they do want you, but in a particular way for a particular time and in secret as well. So I think it's great
Exactly.
that you found each other and are loving each other out loud. Brian, were you always into like plus size women, or do you have a wide range of taste and preference?
I mean, I never really had like was pegged into like one preference, but I never really like real slender women. You know what I mean? Like I always thought, I always wanted a woman to have certain assets. You know what I mean? If possible. It's
Yeah.
always it's what I'm saying. Like for me, like it was for her. I think it was more of a thing because obviously she had to deal with it growing up. But I'm from like East North Carolina, like from a very very black place. So thicker women is just like, yeah, wow, okay, if you can get a thicker woman, of course you're gonna have a thicker woman. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then moving to DC, it was culturally, it was just like, yeah, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? So especially if a woman is beautiful, she carries herself well. So for me, it was just like normal. I just saw like an attractive woman. But growing up, I think the way I was raised too, I was always like, I never really was into like pegging people in a certain categories. If you're attractive, you're attractive. You can be slender. That may work for you. You know what I mean? You may see a woman that is a little bit more voluptuous. That may work for her. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I've always been. You know what I mean? So.
No, I love that. And I know that you mentioned as well, Mariaelissa, that he's very into fitness, and you mentioned it also, Brian. Was that anything that played a role in your relationship at all? Like, oh, I'm super into fitness now. You need to be into fitness too.
No, not for me. But I could definitely see that's like a real concern for everybody because you never want to feel like you're being judged by proxy. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you don't have to like directly say, hey, I need you to go to the gym. You can just sometimes with your aura and your energy, you can judge somebody and how you come across. But I never have felt that way. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. I always wanted somebody that was conscious of their health and what they were doing with their body. You got to at least have some type of presence of mind. And I never had that concern with you. So
yeah, and I mean, I'd always liked working out, not on his level. And I will say, like, we used to work out all the time. He kind of trained me in the beginning, like he was my little personal trainer. And I didn't like that for a while because, he would like push me, but I understood that fitness was important for him. And because I already had a basis of like enjoying, working out, I never saw it like he wanted me to work out or he wanted me to lose weight. In fact, about a year and a half into our relationship, I became pregnant. And unfortunately, about 8 weeks into the pregnancy, I lost the baby. And we were going to the gym and I was feeling great. I was very upset. I felt like my body betrayed me and I gained like 40 pounds in a month. I did everything to kind of sabotage myself and I had to kind of face, some really big health concerns at that time. And I remember bringing it to him and talking about the possibility of like a weight loss surgery because my health had really just gone out of control. It was no longer really about the weight, but what it was, doing. And he was not a fan. Like he did not like that idea at all. So, his mentality was we just, we stay active and, we focus on that. But he was not happy about the possibility of, me having that.
And was that more just health reasons, or you didn't want her to lose her curves, or a little of both?
When we went to that, I didn't really care about curves at all. It was all about like just the possible risk of the surgery, long-term effects. If it's something that she really wanted to do, or she felt like she was boxed in, you know what I mean? Like I can't really, I don't know how it felt, but just being with you during that time, I know it was tough. You know what I mean? But I never know how it felt. But I know it was tough for her to be like, I don't want to feel this way. But it was devastating coming off of our miscarriage. So it was just a lot. I mean, I didn't care about how she looked at all at that point. I just wanted her to be like spiritually healthy and like mentally healthy mostly, no matter what decision she made. So.
Well, I'm glad that you two were able to get through that. I can't imagine how difficult it was, and sometimes those moments tear couples apart, but here you are all those years later. So I'm glad you're able to sort of lean into each other.
Thank you.
When did you know that each other was the one?
Mm,
I think I knew way before he did.
that's what you think. That's what you think.
Well, we joke because I was that girl that's like, I am never going to tell a guy I love him first because, we're not going to do that. And I think maybe 6 months into the relationship, I told him,
Mhm.
and he did not reciprocate initially. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
could imagine, I was like, whoa, what have I done? But shortly after he did, and he kind of explained to me, he didn't want to say it just because I said it. And obviously I respected that, and it definitely meant more. But yeah, I knew pretty early on. Honestly, I talk about this, our first date. It was about 2 months after we met, and it was just everything that when you fantasize about a first date, that was it. I mean, the way he treated me like I was his girlfriend right away. He talked about his family. I could literally just listen to him talk for hours, and I just felt very, very different. So I think I kind of knew from that point on, but I had to kind of, pump the brakes along the way to not go too fast, because I could see that he was a little like, especially because we were still living long distance from each other at that point.
Yeah.
I guess for me, like, I knew pretty early on, but I think it solidified once I saw you interact with your kids in person. I mean, obviously, you've been a mom for over half your life, and I know you've been dedicated to that. So that was something I was really waiting to really see. Because I mean, I knew you were the one no matter what, even before that. Because I wouldn't even want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I mean, I came from a single mom, so it's like for a long time. So I just know how delicate that situation is.
Mhm.
So I would have the respect of not even trying to cross that line. I would have told you early on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I wanted to meet your kids, and I wanted to see you with your kids, because I knew that was like that last piece of me seeing a part of you that you just can't fake that. And I was already in love with her, but at that point, I really just how you treated them and how they were, I knew like it was, yeah.
Mhm.
So
I love that. What was the proposal like?
oh man, it was honestly, I look back on it, I couldn't have thought about it any better. It was cold as hell, super windy on the ocean front. And obviously I set it up with some of our friends and family. And I basically made up a lie saying that I wanted to go down and check out like this festival or event on the boardwalk in Virginia Beach. And even she was like, this is kind of the weather. I wonder what kind of events going on down there. Like, because the weather it was windy. Like, and we went down there, and the whole time I'm trying to kind of herd her to get to the beach because we had it all set up. And I'm getting my phone's blowing up, and she's like, looks good, everything's perfect. And then of course, I'm hungry. I'm like,
No. He said to me, do you want a snack? Do you want something to eat?
I said
And
snack.
I said, yeah. And we were walking around, and there wasn't like a little convenience store. And I saw Buffalo Wild Wings, and I said,
On 1,000. Like, went there.
and I was like, he was just, when I said, let's go there, he got real like agitated. And I thought he wouldn't eat, which I thought was really weird. And then he was on his phone. So I was getting a little agitated, like,
I was like, what?
So he was like, well, this thing is about to, it's happening right now. We're going to miss it. And I had no idea that, yes, our friends and family were standing out in the cold.
Oh.
He had a friend of ours that was ready to take pictures of this surprise proposal. He, at the time, our oldest daughter's boyfriend had made these big signs, and everyone had, a sign. My parents were on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's walking around, and then we stop in front of this hotel, and he said, let's take a selfie. And as I'm like turning around, I get ready to take the selfie, he's behind me, and I turn around and he's down on his knee. And it was, I have said, like I said, I was married before, but I was never proposed to. And there was a reason for that. this was something that, I mean, seeing our friends and family there, I lost it. I was shaking. I was walking away from him, and he's on his knee trying to pull me to him because I was just in shock, you know. It was an amazing, amazing moment. You did a
really
great job. Yeah.
Everybody was like, the video, the pictures were phenomenal. Yeah, because one of those photos it was viral.
Yeah, our proposal went viral.
My friends still send me, though, it's like been memed so many times.
Yeah.
So I'll be random messages from my friends like, hey, what's up, man? This is you. I'm like,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, not to burst your love bubble or cause any fights, but I like to ask everybody, if your significant other had to say one thing about you that drives them nuts, their pet peeve about you, what would they say it is?
I can go first.
Go first.
Sometimes Lisa can take shit personal. Sometimes when, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can take stuff personal.
Okay.
Oh, you're telling each other. Yeah. Okay. We'll do it that way. I wanted you to tell what you thought she would say about you.
Oh, about me?
Yes.
Oh, I can definitely tell you that.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm thinking of the list.
Don't do that.
One thing that probably drives her crazy is I don't communicate accurately sometimes. I guess that's the best way to put it. Like, I don't, like, sometimes I guess I'll omit certain things and not fully explain certain things when it's critical. I can admit that. And that just, because
is that what you would say is your number one?
Yeah. And I know for him, when he said like what he said, I'm an overthinker and I'm super sensitive. So something that he may not think is super big, I will run with it and get my feelings hurt over it. And, create a whole story over it.
I speak that language well myself. I'm like, you can't give me gray area or I will make an entire story out of it. Like, I need all the details, start to finish, so I can't wiggle in room. So I hear you.
Yes.
Well, what is it about each other? What are the top 3 things you love about each other?
I love how attentive he is. I love how he is still the exact same person he was 9 years ago when he was trying to, date me and get my attention. He continues to do the exact same things. And I love how caring he is to everyone that he loves, or just people in general. I mean, he is a big people person. Even though he's introverted, when he is, amongst others, like his job, he's just such a personal person. He will remember people's names. He'll remember details about people that make them really feel like he's listened to them, that, he's really invested in them. Those are my top 3.
Top 3? Okay. So the number one thing is, like, she has like this unflappable way of I'll call it just shining bright. Like, the way you treat people and just like her spirit is like genuinely, like, she's like the best person I've ever met. Like, she genuinely is a good person. And it sounds very simple, but it's something that, it sounds very simple, but if we had more good people in the world, it'd be a lot different. There's one thing I recognized about you, like, a long time ago. Like, she genuinely has like a kind spirit. She's just a sweet person. Second thing is, how dedicated she is to me, like how she supports me, no matter what's going on with her. Like, we all have our things that we go through throughout the day, but you always make sure that you're pushing me forward. She's giving me reverence. It's a big deal. You know what I mean? The respect you show me, I love that. And then the third thing is, she never forgets sentiment. Like, she's real big on holidays, but it's not even just about holidays and birthdays. It just could be something so small. Like, you'll think, oh man, I'm happy that I did that. She'll make sure that that that's like a special moment. Like, it could be something very small, a small milestone. It could be me, my kid. It could be anybody. It could be somebody she just met. Like, she'll make something out of
Yeah.
nothing and said, I'm gonna send them this because they, you know what I mean? They, you know, I want them to know that this is important because
Yeah.
I want to know, you know what I mean? And you're just like a really good person, babe. Like, I love that.
I love that. That is, I don't know how you're not crying because I'm sitting here like, don't start crying, don't start crying. Like, that was so sweet.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
It was.
Love you.
So, you know, as I mentioned, part of the reason why we started this series is because I didn't always see, you know, people that looked like me when I was growing up. So I always like to ask the guests just sort of as our last question, which is like, if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self anything about love or the future, anything, like what would you tell them?
Wow. So I would tell her that she is good enough, just as she is, and that. So I was already a mom at 18, and my self-worth was pretty low for many, many years, and it dictated it, you know, how people treated me. Basically, I spent too many years just taking bare minimum for people because I felt like, you know, that's just what I deserved. So the moment that I really stood in my knowledge that I deserved a love like this, that I deserved to be happy no matter what my exterior looks like, I found him. I mean, and it wasn't like, you know, an overnight thing. It took a long time of me just doing a lot of self-reflection. But I would just tell her to, first of all, hold on. There's something amazing coming your way. And that she is worth it. And, you know, yeah.
You here with me?
What?
Are you here with me? 14?
What year did we meet?
Mhm.
Yeah, 2014.
14. All right. So I'll tell myself two things. One thing is don't be afraid of success. Next thing would be make sure that you're at Lucky's Tavern Sunday, April 13th, 2014. No matter what you do, make sure you're at that bar on that day. No matter what you go through, no matter what you've done, good and bad, make sure you're there on that day. That's what I'll tell
Life-changing day.
myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you both so much. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this conversation and learning more about your love. I love love. I'm such like a hopeless romantic. So I love getting to talk to people more and like seeing their love and hearing their stories. So thank you so much for it.
Thank
And
you
all
so
of you
much.
who are watching, thank you so much for joining. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We have different love stories every week.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.